G'day, I'm Josh and welcome back to the Learning Bislama series. Today we're going to be continuing with the sounds of Bislama. Let's get into it. Before we go any further, we're going to go back and practice our vowel sounds. This is really important, A, to make sure that we're in the zone of speaking Bislama, B, to become more and more familiar with the sounds of Bislama. I'm going to play a video now. I want you to say these sounds as you hear them, getting into that zone.
A, E, I, O, U.
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 Okay, so today we're going to be looking at something called diphthong. Now a diphthong is basically when two vowels come together to make one single sound. Diphthongs are really important to understand when it comes to Bislama, because when you look at Bislama words, they're written fairly straightforward. The B makes a B sound, the D makes a D sound, so on and so on. There are a couple of different diphthongs that if they were read as though they were two separate sounds, it wouldn't really make sense in the word. But these diphthongs allow us to reach the full capacity of all of the vocabulary within Bislama. The first diphthong is EI. It makes an A sound. You can hear it in words like day or pay or spray. Next is AE, which makes an I sound. You can hear this sound in words like wipe or island or night. Then you have AO. AO makes an OW sound. You can hear this OW sound in words like flower, aus, brown. Our last diphthong is OE, which makes an OI sound. You can hear this sound in words like join, or boy, or noise. Now we're going to have a little bit of practice time pronouncing these different words that contain these different diphthongs. Follow along with me. As I say a word, I want you to repeat that word back to me. Try and mimic the sound, particularly focusing on the diphthong sounds that you hear in these different words.
Day, pay, spray, night, white, island, house, flower, crown, noise, boy, join.
Okay, great. We're going to go back and try again. This time I want you to really refine the sounds. Really try and keep an ear out for any hint of your own personal accent coming through. Really try and pronounce these words in following along with how it would sound in Bislama. Let's give it one more go.
Day, pay, spray, night, white, island, house, flower, crown, noise, boy, join.
Awesome. Now we're going to have some practice of writing these words down. It's really important that you can actually recognize the written diphthongs within the language of Bislama, so that way when you're interacting with any sort of text from the language of Bislama, you can recognize how each word should actually be pronounced. I want you to go ahead and grab your notebook that has all of your Learning Bislama notes in it. Can you please turn to the next little blank space that you have and write the title diphthongs, D-I-P-T-H-O-N-G-S, diphthongs. Now go ahead and draw a line straight down the middle of the page and a line intersecting that in the middle to make your 4 different quadrants. Label the top left EI, top right AE, bottom left AO, bottom right OE. In the EI section, go ahead and write the word day. pay, spray. In the AE section, night, white, island. Now in the AO section, house, flower, and ground. Now to the OE section, noise, boy, and join. Now having a look at each one of those quadrants that contains a word that has a particular diphthong in it, how do you think you would change the word from English to Bislama using that particular diphthong? Helpful hint, you can sound it out loud to try and pinpoint exactly where the diphthong is going to go and exactly what the diphthong is going to replace in the English version going to the Bislama version.
Long God you me stand up, but who my systemic rap long society. This unity come up long communities. All people only lose hope long unity. Plant a fasting long all up who we lose finish. Full up best friend only come, all enemies. Love more peace and me mass increase. Remember say together you me strong. Together you me blessed. One place you me family. All them tight unity me say. Together you me soul. Together you me grow. One place you me family. All them tight unity. You me to one no more. I stop them jealousy, sister. Please you let go. Well, you Mr. Question them why you me to leave all them. But too much religion, cause them too much division. Well, plan the home, see pro 1-1. System belong underground, negro be quiet. No sakem custom culture, blow you me to prata man place. You me must come one from say. Together you me strong. Together you me blessed. One place you me family.
Okay, so how did you go? When it comes to these words and figuring out the diphthongs, sometimes it's really straightforward, sometimes it can be a little bit more difficult. As we go on in learning this language of Bislama, it's going to become more and more familiar as to the right placement of particular things, particularly things like sounds and diphthongs, etc. I'm going to chuck up the answers. I want you to go ahead and check your answers to see how you went. Okay, so as we wrap up this video, a reminder, it's really important to practice these different sounds throughout the week. You can go back and rewatch some sections of this video so that you can follow along. You can also try and come up with different words and see in English how you would replace the diphthongs to Bislama. How would you translate one word to the next? Really interesting activity. You can almost test yourself. Thanks so much for sticking with us and engaging with these activities. We're going to be continuing our series on the sounds of Bislama, specifically looking at the consonants in the next video. We'll see you soon.